There are companies who are like just scratching their heads going, how do I start?
Hi there, this is Bianca Lopes, and this is Be in the Know Season 2, brought to you by We Are Tail and Women in Identity. And I have one of my favorites, Women in Identity. Yay! Welcome, Eve, now blonde.
Yes, got the new look.
And moved, and she's XML girl, for those of you who don't know and follow her on Twitter. She's a legend. Eve, tell me about your story.
Well, you know, I've been doing standards for a long time. I helped
And what
create...
makes somebody get into standards? Because it's not the kind of thing that is like really sexy and exciting.
Well,
I think it's exciting.
I think it's exciting too. Well, I got into standards because I started doing SGML DTDs, the schemas as they were of SGML. And I was part of Digital Equipment Corporation. And there was a committee that was started at the Open Software Foundation to figure out what the format should be of the documentation of OSF. And all the licensees of OSF said, hey, we want to help you because we get our documentation and we want to republish it. And SGML was all about write once, publish many. And so I was part of DEC, and we went to the OSF and helped them figure out the format, and that was a standard, and that's how I got my start.
And how has it progressed since? Because you
so
are up
many.
to about 2,000 standard bodies, that so many acronyms I can't even keep track of.
Yeah, well, I mean, it was XML, and then I helped start the SAML group, and I ran the SAML group for a long time, and I helped create the actual specs. And you never know if these standards are going to hit. But when they hit, it's
you
real exciting.
You literally had a track record of hit.
There have been some misses. You know, some of the XML standards, you know, in the orbit of XML didn't work, but those were lessons too. One of my favorite sayings is experience is what you get when you didn't get what you wanted. So I took many lessons from them.
That's pretty amazing. So Eve, now you're in ForgeRock, and what do you do at ForgeRock? Tell me.
So I am VP of Innovation and Emerging Technology, and I'm in the CTO's office.
So in a tech company that's pretty big and already innovative, what does it mean to be the VP of Innovation in the CTO office? Tell me.
Well, one of the things I specialize in is our privacy and consent innovation agenda. So I'm just upstream of product. So I help contribute to all the things we do around privacy and consent innovation, and really that affects our authorization agenda as well. And so I help determine what we actually build for privacy and consent features.
So what are you telling and how are you helping them? Because I think I often see this like big concern happening all over Europe, and I think it's spreading, right? We started to see India put their first privacy law last year. Brazil just copied a similar state within the GDPR in the UK. Slight differences, but it's coming there. But there's still a lack of literacy. And there's still small to medium-sized merchants and companies that are looking at it going, I don't have a data compliance office. I don't know what the hell I'm doing. I don't even know where my data is.
A lot of even big companies are starting from scratch. I mean, even now after the GDPR enforcement has gone into effect, there are companies who are like just scratching their heads going, how do I start? So one of the ways we do that is by giving them a kind of a big package of interface and, you know, an end user kind of single pane of glass saying, this is an experience, a customer experience that you can start with that just goes through all the soup to nuts. It's a way that you can just give customers an easy button, a place to go to start with, and a back end that you can start with interfaces that you can integrate to easily. So that's one way that we do it.
That's the biggest thing for them.
Yes.
It's how do I make this easy and where do I start?
Absolutely.
You do a lot of work in thinking about what interoperability standards are supposed to look like.
Yes.
So tell people a little bit about what is the state of global affairs and what are some of the things that you've seen that are exciting lately?
Well, you know, we've gotten to this new stage of what privacy means. You know, privacy used to mean, in the data protection directive days, really literally data protection, which is don't accidentally let the data out. But in the new era of kind of privacy 2.0, we now have new standards. I mean, with GDPR, with the open banking standards, we've actually got open APIs, which are driving new standards to meet the regulations that define customer journeys that are literally standardized.
What do you think of this whole, like, all the UK banks getting together and doing this.
Well, they were forced to do it.
Comply to open
The
banking
CMA9
business.
were forced to do it.
I know. There's like a track record of like how the PR spins is like, oh, we did this, and I'm like, no, you didn't. You were really forced
I
to
think
do
a little bit they were drag kicking and screaming, but I think they've seen the value of the digital transformation. They've seen the value of all of the so-called TPPs, the third-party providers, the client applications.
And their ability to actually provide value to their clients when they change the relationship of power.
It is a digital transformation mandate that is bringing new business value. And consent has been injected into these flows. Interoperability has been injected into these flows. Security has been injected into these flows.
Not at the end. For those of you who don't know what strong customer authentication is, Eve.
Yeah, SCA, it's part of the open banking flows, which are standardized flows matching the mandate, the regulatory mandate of open banking. And it is making secure, private, standardized, interoperable journeys that enable data portability and privacy for banking customers.
Both. It's not an either or.
No.
I've been saying this as like balancing acts.
Yes.
For the circus, for yoga. Stop.
And so with the ForgeRock Sandbox as a service, this is stuff that ForgeRock actually innovated early on in the open banking work. We had a model
you
bank.
and I both believe it's an open data world.
It is an open data world, and this is where, again, open banking innovated. So with open APIs, you actually have open formats for how the portable banking data gets exchanged. So ForgeRock was asked to develop a reference implementation of open banking, and that was a model bank in the cloud. And we were able to turn this into the ForgeRock Sandbox as a service that banks and the third-party provider client applications could use.
That is amazing.
To build solutions.
Okay, I don't know about all of you in the market, but I didn't know about this. You should know about this. It's actually quite interesting. So does that take the lifecycle management and the integration of fintechs and other technology providers, sort of some of the hassle of building my tense sit and dev environments, and I can just use your sandbox? Is that the idea? Let me rent your sandbox, put the people on the playground, see who I like playing with, kick the rest of them out.
Yes,
and build
it makes it easy to build your digital banking services. And all these people who are innovating around the third-party providers just want to know that it's going to work as well with the banks that they're integrating with. So
and they want the clients.
Yes, that's right.
So what about the security around the sandbox? Is that sort of something that they can build on after the fact?
Well, no, you want it to be built in. That's the idea. So you get portability, you get strong customer authentication with our intelligent authentication flows. So if you want push notification, if you want
and you can
Touch
sort
ID.
of change it. I remember seeing it. You can change it sort of just like a decision tree, which
this
as
is
a
the beautiful
Bayesian
part.
mathematician, I'm like,
oh yes. Oh, this is the part I love. It's got this all branching logic so that if an admin wants to optimize for a flow where you want to make it more friction-free for a bank customer, you can do that. Or at the same time, if you want to optimize for fraud detection, you can do that. So it's really optimizable for whichever goals you have. You might have multiple goals. You can do that.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Eve, for telling me a little bit about this. And stay in the know, and we'll see you next time.